Hello. I am back in some of my Eras Tour merch as the Eras Tour has been over for a few months now. The Eras Tour ended in December, a wild time it was when the tour was going on, and that is what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to create before the memories of the tour fully leave our mind and we move forward in the Tay universe as we already kind of are. I wanted to drop a pin in the history of the Tay universe for the Eras Tour on my channel and have a little historical timeline of the Eras Tour in this video, a Eras Tour encyclopedia, if you will. So what we're going to do is go through the Eras Tour from the inception,
I'm going back on tour,
all the way through the closing night, talk about all of the ups and downs, the scandals, the errors, the moments, the shocks, the horrors, the celebrations, the elations, all of the wonder and fun and enchanted moments we had fighting dragons with our fellow Swifties over the last few years. If you are a Swiftie in the future or just a Swiftie now and you want to remember some little moments from the Eras Tour, you want to go back and you want to see when was that surprise song played, what happened in my city, did anything cute and quirky happen in this city, this is the video for you, baby. We are going to go show by show. We are going to list the surprise songs every single time we saw a new outfit, every single time we got a new surprise song, every single time something new, fun, cute, quirky, and tailored happened. I'm sure there will be little things that I forgot, and that will be your job to let me know kindly down in the comments about. But without further ado, let's get into the Eras Tour announcement. Now, Taylor announced the tour on Good Morning America on November 1st, 2022.
Good morning, America. It's Taylor. I wanted to tell you something that I've been so excited about for a really long time.
Shortly after the release of Midnights, and a very interesting guest appearance where she was kind of like poked to be like, so are you gonna go on tour? Like, it's been a while. And she was like, yeah, it has been a while. I should, yeah? I should. Literally like a week later announces the tour. She announced it on November 2nd, but the tour did not actually begin until March 17th of 2023 in Glendale, Arizona. There were so many predictions, you guys. Everyone had a vision, everyone had an idea. There were people who were determined to not be spoiled. There were people who wanted to know everything as soon as it happened. Everyone was wondering, how's she gonna put all these eras into this one? How long is the show gonna be? What songs are gonna be in? What songs are not gonna be in? Is it all gonna be nice? And we saw Mirrorball and Tim McGraw performed as surprise songs and were treated with the first round of outfits, the first outfit that we got to see from every single one of the eras. All of them have, like, in my mind become like kind of like the classic. Yeah, all of these I consider like the OG fit for their era. If there are any that you like don't consider that were like on night one, let me know. After night one, I feel like most Swifties were pleased. We were pleasantly shocked at the length and caliber of the show. People knew she was gonna go hard. I don't think people were expecting her to go that hard. The only thing that people really had a gripe with, and like we continue to have a gripe with it all the way to the end, is the Tay exclusion of Speak Now and Debut. And then like she gave us a little taste with like Tim McGraw on the first night, first single, love it. But also I feel like that led us to believe that maybe we were gonna get more Debut. While Speak Now was paid dust, I do appreciate that they really had like a whole ballet number, a whole giant gown outfit change, all for one song. And I love that that song is Enchanted, and I love that she loves that song enough to like have this whole production around just it. Iconic, incredible. Do I wish I could have been there for Long Live with the Koi Fish guitar? Yes, I would have wept. My knees would have hit the floor. But again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. That was night one. We'll get faster as things go on. Don't you worry. Night two continued on in Glendale, Arizona, with the surprise songs being This Is Me Trying and State of Grace. And we got new outfits, baby. We got the blue and gold lover bodysuit with the black jacket instead of the silver one with a blue guitar to match. We got the debut of the first octopus dress. Yes, that's what I'm calling them. You can call them what you want. That's what I call them. Octopus dress, tentacle dress, dresses, whatever you please, the gold version of it. She really just hung on to these all the way to the end, man. They were there the first week and they were there the last week. Gold octopus dress makes its first appearance on night 2, as does a second version of the red sequin t-shirt. She had a "Who is Taylor Swift Anyway? Ew" shirt with the ew in red lettering. Remember when we thought these were spelling something? Remember when we thought they were spelling like Speak Now Taylor's version? Clowns, literally all of us. I will never stop saying that. Literally Swifties, clown car of Swifties going to the Eras tour. Same thing. The pink prom dress enchanted gown was introduced inferior to the everything bagel dress, the OG of night 1 as she was. The cream folklore dress and the green beaded original 1989 set, as well as its matching surprise song wrap, a blue sequin midnights shirt dress, and a dark pink or magenta, if you will, fringe jacket for Karma. She only did 2 nights in Glendale, Arizona, who did actually rename their town Swift City for the weekend, kind of starting the trend of cities and towns renaming streets, parts of their towns for the Eras tour as it came through. Some of them even like gave her the key to the city and made her the honorary mayor, and we'll review those as we go through. But we pressed on to Vegas, baby, with show number 3 on a Friday, March 23rd, 2023, with Our Song and Snow on the Beach as surprise songs. Looking back at like all of these like surprise songs and like really like writing them out one by one and grouping them, there are some songs I didn't realize she liked that much, and Snow on the Beach is one of them. She plays that a handful of times. To be honest, I think she gave a fuck about that song. I didn't think she liked that song at all. I think she just did the more Lana version because people were so like kind of noisy about it, and her and Lana are friends anyway. You know how many times she played Question? In Vegas night 1 is where we first meet the pink folklore dress. We do not see her very many times, but we do meet her here. Second night in Vegas, Marcus from Mumford & Sons guests and joins her for Cowboy Like Me in the surprise song set that is followed by White Horse and the debut of a light pink Karma jacket that we also don't see that many times, but it's giving, truly these Karma jackets like are giving Party City. I will say this one is giving Party City probably the most. It's also giving Pom Pom probably the most. I think it's like the shininess of the tassels. So I think maybe that's why we didn't see it like all that much again. Moving on to Arlington, Texas, we had a surprise song of Sad, Beautiful, Tragic, and Hours. Invisible String was removed this night from the set list and replaced by The One. So Invisible String was literally only played for 1, 2, 3, 4 shows before it was booted and replaced by the "We Are No Longer Connected. The Invisible String Never Actually Existed. You Are Not the One" song. This was also the night that during Mastermind she accidentally said, "If you plan to play on, you plan to fail." If you plan to play, you plan to fail. If you plan to play, you plan to fail. And you can like see her like little grin when she realizes she didn't say "if you play to flan." She said "if you play to plan." She only messed up one of the words. Usually people mess up both of them. We also saw the debut of a "We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together" red sequin t-shirt, as well as a pink sequins midnights shirt dress. Arlington night 2 was a very interesting night because not only was it the night that she did Clean and Death by a Thousand Cuts as surprise songs, like actual like wins, both of them, but it was the night she messed up Death by a Thousand Cuts and was like, I guess I'll have to do it again. Paper cut stings from her paper thin plans was like the lyric that like tripped her up. She was like, oh, why do I write things like that? Well, I said like I wasn't gonna redo anything or like repeat songs unless I mess it up, so I guess I'm gonna have to play it again. She promises to play it again. I had so much fun doing the bridge. Do you want to do the bridge again? What a shame.
at the touch of your hand. Paper cuts stain from a paper thin. My time, my life, my spirit, my shine. Give me too much, but it wasn't enough. I'll be alright, it's just a thousand.
This is also the first night that we see my favorite Midnights t-shirt dress, the purple one. Like the 70s aesthetic on Taylor of Midnights, I'm actually so down for it, and I want more of that aesthetic. I don't want more of Midnights the album, but I want more of that vibe from Taylor and her bangs and her hair and like the liner on her lash line and like knit tops and such. Anyway, Arlington night 3, I'm so sorry. It sucks if you got tickets to Arlington and you went on the 3rd night, because in my opinion, Jump Then Fall and The Lucky One are total flops in comparison to Clean and Death by a Thousand Cuts and Sad, Beautiful, Tragic and Hours. But maybe that's just my opinion. That was all that happened on Sunday, the 3rd night in Arlington. Then the breakup with Joe is dropped by People on April 8th. Now the last Arlington show is on Sunday, April 2nd. April 8th is the day that it is released by People that the breakup is said to have happened a few weeks ago. The next show after that, where people are aware that Joe and Taylor are in fact not together anymore, is the first show in Florida. You pack your life away just to wait out the shitstorm back in Texas. Where did she go after Texas? Florida. Where was the breakup announcement? Right after Texas. Now, I believe that the breakup happened before. Well, let's one more. If you were not aware, prior to the Eras Tour, Taylor Swift had been dating a British actor named Joe Alwyn. They had been dating since the Reputation era in 2016. He had not been seen at any of the first few shows on the Eras Tour. He had been reported to have said that he was going to attend shows when he could. He eventually never ended up attending any, but the news dropped on April 8th from a reputable source, People. If you don't know, People is one of those sources that for Taylor news, if it comes from a source close to Taylor, from People, usually that means someone on Taylor's team or her publicist, Tree Payne, has provided that information. This information was printed by People during the week that she had off of the show between Texas and Florida. Now, where did she go during that time? I do not know. That is none of our business. However, I do wonder if there was a shitstorm in Texas for her to deal with this breakup announcement and her feelings about that, or if she was completely past it and like the syllables of shitstorm back in Texas just worked out. I do find it interesting. I digress. We arrive in Tampa, Florida, and get the debut of one of my like originally least favorite outfits, but now like it's like inextricably linked to the Folklore era and the Eras Tour for me, and that is what I originally thought was kind of a puke green Folklore dress, but now I actually really like it. I feel like the leaf details actually work the best with that one. This is also the show where the long sleeve like tissue paper flower enchanted dress enters the chat. Now, it wasn't good. It wasn't great. I don't think the dress itself even was like that bad. I think for the purpose it was trying to serve, the tissue paper dress was bad. You know, like it's something that needs to look like a ball gown. She needs to look like a Barbie on top of a wedding cake in a big, sparkly, pretty princess dress from far away from all angles. Lights reflecting sequin stars off her silhouette every night. And while this was a very big, sparkly, pretty dress, it didn't actually work in that context because the flower details just looked like blobs, like the kind of almost mermaid cut of it really reduced the size of the dress. It was really giving more red carpet than it was giving enchanted ball gown. The fact that Tampa is where she chose to go long sleeve too. Like, is it cold in Tampa in April? I feel like it's not. I haven't been there in April, but like, why then? Why now? We also met the orange beaded 1989 set and its accompanying yellow surprise song wrap. Later on, People tended to like peg this one for when she was like gonna say or do something interesting. It just kind of was like a cute fun thing because she said and did something interesting a couple times when she was wearing it though. Like there was no actual connection. This is also the show where the like intro music to the Red era, like while she's changes from everything everything has changed to Holy Ground, which like honestly makes so much more sense. I get introducing like the fall vibes with the acoustic, like everything has changed, I guess. The intro to either Holy Ground or State of Grace makes so much more sense to intro the Red Era for me. And then finally, this was the show Tampa Night 1 where Taylor like could not see. I'm not sure if like the light didn't turn green or if she just couldn't see where she was supposed to jump. But when she is supposed to jump into the stage after the surprise songs, she like hesitated and you can see her go, what the fuck? Because she's trying to figure out where to jump, and I guess the projection kind of started going without her a little bit.
I'm so excited.
The surprise songs were Speak Now of Speak Now titular fame and Treacherous.
God, wait, Death March and I am
which like, yeah, I would be like super on board. The nostalgia of Speak Now and like Treacherous, to hear Taylor go, I'll follow you home. In person, death, immediate death. Tampa also gave her the key to the city and named her the honorary mayor for her time there. The second night in Tampa on the 14th, Aaron Dessner was a guest and joined her to sing The Great War as one of the surprise songs. And the second surprise song was our first appearance of You're on Your Own, Kid. That was one song that people were like, shocked and appalled was like not on the midnight set list. That's actually another thing people kind of had a problem with. And finally in Tampa, the third night, Aaron Dessner joined her again to sing Mad Woman as one of the surprise songs, accompanied by Mean. Super like, I get thematically those songs are similar, but like tonally, I could not think of two more different like Taylor Swift songs. And so I actually think it would be very, very like weird to hear those back to back. My surprise songs at my show were actually kind of mood whiplash, but they were both kind of iconic, so it was like sort of okay. Another thing I noticed when I was like going through, Aaron Dessner really just kind of like pulls up when he's in the area and has a moment, and like we'll do a Folklore Evermore Tortured Poets song with her, and frankly, I love that. I feel like they have a really good relationship, those two. Now, it's funny as we go right back to Texas for the end of April, and show 11 on Friday is in Houston, Texas, and we get Wonderland and You're Not Sorry. Both actually breakup songs. Wonderland, people I think forget, is a breakup song, but it's in the past. We found Wonderland. It's not We're in Wonderland, it's We Found, and didn't they tell us, didn't they warn us? So, very interesting pairing, like that one. Houston was like kind of uneventful, to be honest. Night 2 got A Place in This World and Today Was a Fairy Tale, very sweet. And night 3 got Begin Again and Cold as You. Rolling into show 14, the following Friday in Atlanta, she pulled out The Other Side of the Door. That's another one I would have absolutely like, I was kind of devastated when we lost that one, because to hear her sing the end, the bridge of that song, ugh. With your face and your beautiful eyes and the conversation with the little black lines. Oh. And Coney Island. Odd pairing to me. I don't know. That's like, there's like grits in a martini. It's just weird to me, but. On night 2 in Atlanta, we finally got our first Reputation surprise song with Gorgeous, accompanied by High Infidelity, which Aaron Dessner did not join her for. Atlanta, apparently he was busy. And finally on Sunday night, April 30th, last night in Atlanta, we got I Bet You Think About Me and How You Get the Girl. Now, it was after this, 4 days later, that the Maddie Healy relationship is leaked by The Sun on May 3rd, and then 2 days later is the show in Nashville that Maddie attends on May 5th, where not only is nothing new added to the Red Era until the last night in New Jersey. And not only is Speak Now Taylor's version announced, and not only does she sing My Dream surprise song Sparks Fly and Teardrops on My Guitar, but this is also the night where she mouths, "This one is about you. You know who you are. I love you," while Maddie's in the crowd, after he had just mouthed those exact words while he was singing the song About You at his concert just before that. And the song About You is about like someone who is essentially like the one, and then she did that while she was singing Cardigan, and just so many things. The Swiftie universe, Pangea happened. Things shifted and like clicked into new places that they had always been, but we had not known. Things changed that night. They changed on Nashville night one. And what's crazy is that like, I don't even remember that Speak Now was announced that night. I remember the announcement of Speak Now, and I remember like the Maddie Apocalypse show. And those are two separate events in my mind, but like they were in fact the same day. Nashville night one, y'all are lucky people. Now Nashville night two, on May 6th, Taylor and Maddie were spotted going back to Taylor's Nashville apartment together in the dead of night afterwards. And it is on this one night that Invisible String is kicked back into the place where it originally was instead of the one. And it's as if she was like, "No, you're not a could have been the one anymore. It turns out the invisible string was tying me to you." It's just, and that night we got Out of the Woods and 15. Do with that what you will. Third night in Nashville, the first rain show of the tour. There was a 4-hour delay due to the storm and the lightning. We saw the rain mic, the all black mic that we used the entire show for safety. And Aaron Dessner pops out once again to sing Would've, Could've, Should've with her during the surprise songs that was accompanied then by Mine, which we like absolutely loved at the time because like the Speak Now TV announcement was there, and we were all like very, very like John Mayer blood hungry. And so like Would've, Could've, Should've paired with the Speak Now song, wow, delicious. We loved our food that day. The Monday after that last show in Nashville, more reputable sources confirm the Maddie and Taylor Swift relationship. That is reported by Us Weekly and Entertainment Tonight. The first one was by The Sun, and like, if you know like your tabloid sources, The Sun is like a little sleazy. Now from Nashville, Taylor actually headed back up to her home state of Pennsylvania, performing in Philly for shows 20 and 21, starting on Friday, May 12th with Gold Rush and Come Back, Be Here. I feel like I remember people said she like low-key struggled to sing Gold Rush like live acoustically, but like I could be wrong. Let me know on that one. And then the next night, kind of a slay, she did Forever and Always and This Love, and this was the night that she wasn't doing anything. Bad Blood happened. If you do not know, Taylor noticed during Bad Blood that a security guard was, I guess, reprimanding a fan who wasn't actually doing anything disruptive, and so she was trying to tell the security guard to leave the fan alone, the Swiftie alone, and you could hear her when she moved the mic away from her face.
Oh, it's so sad to think about the good times you and I. 'Cause baby, now we got bad blood. She wasn't doing anything. Used to be bad blood. Hey, stop. 'Cause baby, now we got bad blood. Hey, stop. Now we got problems, and I don't think we can solve them.
And then the final show in Philadephia, she throws it back with the surprise songs and does Hey Steven, a song that she wrote about a boy that she was on tour with when she was in her debut era, and The Best Day, written about her mom. So two kind of like cozy oldie but goodies. Next day is when the pap photos of Taylor and Maddie walking out of the Electric Lady studio looking all cold and disheveled, Taylor in that NYU crew neck. And then 2 days later is when the Speak Up Now letter goes up. If you do not know, that is when the fans of Taylor Swift used the kind of like Speak Now TV era release theme to write a letter to Taylor Swift telling her that she needed to stop dating Matty Healy because he had done things in the public eye that were morally questionable or reprehensible, and so she needed to speak up and speak out against him and dump his ass, essentially. Swifties really did that. We really did that. We really demanded a woman end her relationship because we didn't love everything that her boyfriend has ever done. I think we all know that's wrong now. We've all listened to But Daddy I Love Him, right? If you would like to kind of delve more into that discussion, I do have a video about it that I released shortly after the release of But Daddy I Love Him, if you'd like to check it out. I'm a fan of it. But 2 days later, she is back on a Friday for show 23 in Foxborough, Massachusetts, where she pulls out some angry surprise songs, Should Have Said No, and Better Man. And this is the show where people suspect that she's directing it towards Joe when she was glaring and shaking her head no during Should Have Said No. That's another one that I would just kill to see her sing live, but like, I don't know if it would be the same. Like, if we're not throwing a chair, are we really doing Should Have Said No? Now, you'd think maybe something had happened already in Rattyland and this anger was directed towards him, but the next show, night 2 on May 20th, show 24, was a rain show, and it was also the show where she told everyone, kind of in response to like the speak up now as a like, shut up. She said that she was happier in all aspects of her life than she'd ever been. And then she played Question, which was another just kind of like continent sliding into place for us all realizing just the rat that had been throughout the discography this entire time.
No way.
Oh my gosh, this is insane. I kind of just feel like telling you, like, I don't know, I've just never been this happy in my life, in all aspects of my life. And I just want to thank you for being a part of that. Like, you know, I don't know. It's not just a tour, it's like, I don't know. I just sort of feel like my life finally feels like it makes sense. And so I thought I'd play this song, which brings me really a lot of happy memories. Good girl,
followed by Invisible. But here the piano also did kind of like malfunction for a moment, but it got working again pretty quickly. The next day on Sunday for show 22, the last night in Foxborough, she continues on her happy parade with Red and I Think He Knows. From there we head up to New Jersey, East Rutherford. That is Jack Antonoff country, where he comes out, he joins her for Getaway Car and Maroon, our first appearance of Maroon and Era's tour favorite. Another song that like we had no idea that she rode so hard for, and now like Swifties kind of ride hard for because she likes it so much. I don't know, when Midnights came out, people were kind of into it too, but I feel like people have gotten even more into it because she like, if it feels like if she doesn't know what to play for a surprise song, she plays Maroon. This was also the first night of Ice Spice Karma. Ice Spice joined her to do her version of Karma for all the nights in New Jersey. We also got the purple tassel bodysuit for the first time here. This was the third leather bodysuit that we got to see, so we got that one in all of its glory. Let me know if you are a purple tassel bodysuit fan. To be honest, at first I was a huge hater. Like, I absolutely like thought she was ugly and wanted her to die, but like it's grown on me. Still not my favorite, but it's grown on me. This was also the first time we saw the bronze Evermore dress, so it was like untailored and kind of had that like tent-like shape to it. It's a very pretty fabric, but just the way it fits her is just like kind of not correct. And to be honest, it's giving like we got this 2 hours before the show and Taylor did not get to try it on before she went on stage. Not that it looks bad on her, it doesn't look great. Like the fabric is so pretty and I just want them to make like respectfully like a different dress with that fabric, but it did get tailored later. I'll put up the pictures so you can see the difference, but she really only wore it like a handful of times. We also got the white and silver enchanted dress here. I'm like not a huge fan of this one. It's fine, it's just very prom-y to me, and I feel like it is like the lesser version of the Everything Bagel dress, and like if we're gonna do this, then like I don't know, I just kind of prefer we do the pink one or the Everything Bagel one, but That's just me. Night 2 in Jersey, we continued with Ice Spice Karma. We got an iridescent sequin Midnights t-shirt dress. Night 2 in Jersey, we continued with Ice Spice Karma. We got an iridescent sequin Midnights t-shirt dress. The silver octopus fearless dress made her debut. And we got some kind of like horny low-key surprise songs in Holy Ground and False God. Wrapping up the nights with Ice Spice Karma in Jersey, we also got our first repeat surprise song, which shockingly was not Maroon or You're on Your Own Kid, but Clean and Welcome to New York. This was actually the closest we got to New York. This was like essentially the New York stop. Then the next weekend in Chicago, we get a distinct mood shift with I Wish You Would in the Lakes on Friday, followed by You All Over Me. She's joined by Maren Morris for that one. And I Don't Want to Live Forever, the first non-album surprise song. Honestly, like kind of a flop pairing, but like two distinctly kind of breakup-y downer pairings in a row, and then followed by Hits Different and The Moment I Knew, two very, very clear breakup Tay songs. This was also one of the 2 times that she swallowed a bug. The Lover mic also had like a malfunction this day, and I believe this was the time when she was like screaming into it and like, you know, doing the whole cute little funny bit with it while they were fixing it. The next day, though, the Maddie and Taylor breakup is officially published on the 5th, and we have 4 more days until a show in Detroit where she sings Haunted and I Almost Do, followed by All You Had to Do Was Stay and Breathe the next day. I literally just have these shows labeled Breakup Tay. This is absolutely when she was writing Tortured Poets Department. I want to know exactly when she was writing some of the songs. Like, I want to know when she was writing I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. I want to know when she was writing Smallest Man Who Ever Lived. I feel like this is the time. I could be wrong though, I don't know. I feel like Breathe is one of the saddest songs. You don't sing Breathe when you're okay. You write Smallest Man Who Ever Lived when you're like needing to listen to Breathe. Between Detroit and Pittsburgh though, Cruel Summer was re-released as a single, which was a huge kind of like Swiftie victory and a great moment for Taylor because that song so deeply deserved its flowers, and it absolutely didn't because it was supposed to be the song of the summer in 2020, RIP, just like Pink Pony Club. God, the summer that we could have had, the Loverfest Pink Pony Club summer we could have had in 2020, that timeline is so interesting to me because I also like, would Taylor like have become a flop if we had done Loverfest? Because like we would have continued down like the path that was giving us this outfit, and like as much as I really love some songs on Lover, it was the path that was giving us this vibe, and Folklore and Evermore wouldn't have happened. And like I don't know, but we're not talking about that right now. We opened the Pittsburgh shows with Mr. Perfectly Fine and The Last Time, followed by 7 and The Story of Us. The second night, she actually flips the surprise song order. She has piano first and guitar second so that Aaron Dessner can join her on piano for 7. And then, wildly, her first night in Minneapolis, she does Paper Rings, followed by If This Was a Movie. Breakup Tay, as I guess, taking a step back, which like I get that, like you're like down bad from like a breakup, you need some like flash of joy. To be honest, like that is when I listen to my most like hype up song, when I'm like so sick of being down that I'm like begging for a boost. And Paper Rings is definitely that type of song. And then we got the Dear John lecture night. This was the night, Minneapolis night 2, where Taylor said, we need to stop being mean to people on the internet. And she meant y'all need to stop bullying John Mayer. Y'all need to stop with the harassment. Y'all need to stop with the comments. Y'all need to stop with the posts. Y'all need to stop with the literal death threats. It's not cute. It's not funny. It's embarrassing. And like, we're gonna cool it.
I see so many beautiful interactions happen, and I hear so many stories about friends that were made at these shows, and I watch it happen every night. It's the most unbelievable thing to watch. And so I was hoping to ask you that as we lead up to this album coming out, I would love for that kindness and that gentleness to extend onto our internet activities, right? So what I'm trying to say is, I'm putting this album out because I want to own my music, and I believe that any artist who has the desire to own their music should be able to. That's why I'm putting out this album. I'm 33 years old. I don't care about anything that happened to me when I was 19, except the songs I wrote and the memories we made together. So what I'm trying to tell you is I'm not putting this album out so that you can go and like should feel the need to defend me on the internet against someone you think I might have written a song about 14 billion years ago. I do not care if you have all been out perfect. So, I'm saying that because, only because I am proud of it as a song, I am going to play Dear John.
So she then proceeded to sing Dear John, which she habitually does not sing as a symbol of how much we hate him and how fucked up he is. However, she sang it to represent how moved on and over it she is. However, I would argue the girl who wrote Would've, Could've, Should've is still with us, and she's definitely not over it in her soul. However, we need to be, because Mother asked us to be, and she followed it by Daylight. What a night, honestly. To have a lecture, Dear John, and Daylight, I'll take it. Yes, Mother, thank you, Mother. God, what a time to be alive, man. Really, truly, like every weekend, there was just something Swiftie with the Eras tour and the ratty of it all. And then in Cincinnati, we had Still Swift, the Reputation platform that's supposed to like take her down from the end of the Reputation set so she can like get that giant bodysuit off and like change. Didn't. And she does a little stomp to see if maybe it'll make it go, and it doesn't. And you can see her make the decision to turn around and start like running, and she just takes some very big like strides to try and kind of do it with grace, and then she runs, and people are posting about it, and she comments with her own account, still Swift ass boy. And she was Swift. The dancers got out of her way and girl made it.
Hey, 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 hey. Run.
Girl got her change in time, and she's saying I'm only me when I'm with you and evermore. Interesting pairing. The second night in Cincinnati, she had two guests for the surprise song. She sang Ivy with Aaron Dessner, and then Call It What You Want, and then Gracie came up and sang I Miss You, I'm Sorry. She was really repping for Gracie like early on, and she's like continuing to rep for Gracie. Like she's like in it for the long haul for this girl, and I'm like very interested to see how long that lasts for. Speak Now TV, for an album that was paid dust, is inextricably linked to like big like Eras tour nights, because Speak Now TV was released at Show of 40 in Kansas City, Missouri on July 7th, a city that she regularly spends a lot of time in now. But in honor, she sang Never Grow Up and When Emma Falls in Love as surprise songs. She added Long Live to the set, which did stick around until it was cut for Time for Tortured Poets department in Paris. But all of lucky people that saw it between Kansas City and Paris did get to witness Long Live with the koi fish guitar. I envy you. I got like a little special thing at my show though. I got like a cookie, and so like I feel like I'm like satisfied. If I hadn't got like anything, any like sparkly little special like cookie thing at my show, I would be a little bitter that I didn't get the koi fish guitar and Long Live. This was also the show where we first met the purple tiered enchanted dress. In honor of the Speak Now TV release, we also got the I Can See You music video premiere, and Joey Taylor and Presley all came up on stage for that. The next night was Travis Kelce's first show, where he reportedly reportedly was denied access to give her a friendship bracelet, and she sang Last Kiss. What like an amazing like first time to see Taylor perform, and she sings Last Kiss in a giant stadium. Breathtaking. Followed by Dorothea, a song that I love, but I feel like just like off-puts so many people, and I don't know like why. What is the Dorothea hate? Can we please explain? Like, if you don't like Dorothea, tell me why in the comments. Talk to me. In Denver, we got the Eras Tour moment, Sapphire Tears on MySpace.
Sapphire tears on MySpace and it's making my whole sky. Some guy said my aura's mixed up just 'cause he was
Along with Picture to Burn and Timeless, some very young Taylor songs, young vibes. This night, early 2000s vibes, low-key, with Sapphire Tears on MySpace, Picture to Burn, and Timeless. Very early 2000s vibes. Night 2 in Denver got Back to December and Starlight. I would really like that. I'm a fan of Starlight and Back to December. There are just some old Taylor songs that like are just so inextricably connected to like your formation as a Swiftie that like even if you don't listen to them anymore, they're still like Teardrops on My Guitar is one of those for me, and so is Back to December. So I would have loved this night. Seattle, Washington. This is why we can't have nice things and everything has changed. Super weird pairing. But this was also the first night that No Body, No Crime with Haim was added all the way through Los Angeles, and they joined her for the opening and that number during the set. The second night in Seattle on Saturday was the Swiftquake night. Reportedly, the cheers from the stadium during the Champagne Problems applause registered seismic activity multiple times greater than that of the, what do they call it? The Beastquake that like the Seattle Seahawks fans had caused in the same stadium years before. The Swifties squished the football fans is what I'm hearing. We move on. That night, she performed Message in a Bottle and Tied Together with a Smile. 3 days later, on July 26th, was the podcast where Travis talked about his experience with the Eras Tour and having a friendship bracelet and wanting to go give it to Taylor and being disappointed that he couldn't. So it was like a few weeks between when that happened and when he talked about it. 2 days later, Taylor was back up on stage in Santa Clara, where she was named the honorary mayor, and Aaron joined her for Right Where You Left Me, and she also sang Castles Crumbling, getting through the Speak Now Taylor's version surprise song. Second night in Santa Clara, we had a very like girly set of songs, a fun cutesy girly set, Stay 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 and All of the Girls You've Loved Before, a flop selection if you ask me. I've listened to All of the Girls You've Loved Before literally twice, and I was into Stay 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 in high school and I have not listened to it since, but that is just my onion. And then we got the Los Angeles shows. I don't know how she played this many shows in a row. I feel like this was actually kind of asking too much of her, but I feel like there was something that had to do with like the filming of the movie where they had to do this many in a row. I don't know how one person does this show 6 times in a row. I don't know how one person does it 3 times. 2 nights in a row, I guess I could see. 3, absolutely not. 6, cooked. But there was filming for the Eras Tour movie all 6 nights at SoFi in Los Angeles. On Thursday, August 3rd, she kicked it off with the Speak Now Taylor's version song I Can See You, as well as Maroon for the second time. Little did we know we would be seeing it so many more times. More US dates were also announced on the 3rd. So it was announced that she would be coming back for the dates that she did in 2024 in New Orleans, Florida, Indianapolis, etc. The next day on the 4th, she did Our Song and You Are in Love, followed by Death by a Thousand Cuts for the second time, and the second appearance of You're on Your Own, Kid. The 4th night, we saw the first appearance of the dark purple midnight sequin t-shirt dress, the surprise song combo of Dress and Exile, which like absolutely iconic. The 5th night in LA, we got I Know Places and King of My Heart, as well as the record time for Champagne Problems standing ovation applause, the debut of what I like to call and what I feel has been dubbed Six Pack Midnight's bodysuit, as well as the Indigo the Man sequin jacket, which like kind of makes sense because like at this point you've done like 4 shows in a row, like things are dirty, things are getting cleaned, and like you have a break after this, like you have what you have left. You're gonna have to bring in some new stuff. And then Finally, for the last night in Los Angeles, she pulled out New Romantics and New Year's Day, a very fun combination for the final show of the first US leg. This was the 1989 Taylor's version announcement, so we had all blue outfits. We turned the enchanted dress blue, which is actually, there are two blue enchanted dresses because there was like another one added later. This is actually the one I like less of the two, just because I'm not into the halter neckline situation. Let me know what you think. We had another blue beaded 1989 set with a wrap to match, as well as a blue folklore dress, all leading up to the announcement during the surprise song set. Kind of surprised that she didn't sing two 1989 songs for surprise songs, but she really loves to end things with New Year's Day. That's like a thing that she's very into doing, so sorry for the lighting change, but we are in the Latin America leg now, y'all. We had a 1 week break and then we are back in Mexico City. Now, the thing about the international leg, don't get me wrong, the Eras Tour was wildly popular in the US, but a lot of the people in these non-US cities and countries have not had the chance to see Taylor since the 1989 tour. It has been years, and a lot of these venues have open floor standing room. So that means that if you get a ticket for a floor section, then you do not get a chair. There is not a seat for you. It is first come, first serve. You have a ticket to be in that zone, and if you would like to be somewhere that is preferable for you to be able to see other than like just the people around you and their phones, then you're gonna have to get there first, babe. And if you leave, you lose your spot. And so Swifties were sleeping on the sidewalk. They were pitching tents. They were doing water runs. They were getting food, bus, club, another club, line, another line. And the venues were absolutely taking advantage of it. Water was incredibly expensive. You could only bring in certain things from the outside, small bags, no liquids of your own. But those international Swifties, they pulled up, they suffered through, and they did it. And they had the time of their lives fighting dragons with Taylor. On night one, she opened in Mexico City with the opening of Lover with I Forgot That You Existed, followed by Sweet Nothing. This is also the first time Cam starts to edit the like ever line that he gets in We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together. From this point on, he edits it to the language of the country that they are in. So he starts in Mexico by saying like nunca, and it goes from there. I am not going to say every single language and thing that he does because I'm going to butcher it. But Taylor did learn how to say welcome to the Eras Tour in a ton of different languages, just like Cam learned how to say a quippy version of like ever in a bunch of different languages. Mexico City night 2, we got Tell Me Why and our first repeat of Snow on the Beach. Tell Me Why was also a repeat. That's like a good like combo, like not shining, but like upper, like middle echelon, followed by Cornelia Street and You're on Your Own, Kid. She really had to go all the way to Mexico City to play Cornelia Street. Golden Night, absolutely iconic. And then the final night in Mexico City, we got Afterglow, followed by the third appearance of Maroon. Maroon is actually like in front of You're on Your Own, Kid at this point in terms of plays, and I think You're on Your Own, Kid ends up winning out by like 1 in the end in terms of like number of times played. Now, we had a 1 week break between LA and Mexico City, but from Mexico City we actually have a 2-month break between the last show in Mexico City on August 27th and the first one in Buenos Aires on November 9th. In that time, a lot happens in the Tay universe. Taylor attends her first Chiefs game, and we get those cute like pictures of her like leaving. She has her like little like red hoodie, white tank top. She says hey to like the cameraman.
Hey, how you doing?
And they're like driving away in the little convertible. So cute. Her first Chiefs game on November 24th, followed by her second on October 1st. The release of the Live from the Eras Tour version of Cruel Summer on October 18th. Our first Tavis spotting of them out in New York City when she's in that cute black corset tan blazer outfit and he's being all sweet holding the door for her, holding her hand. Amazing. Some of my favorite Tavis pap shots to this day. And then of course 1989 Taylor's version comes out on October 27th, followed by 3 Vancouver shows announced to be added to the final leg of the Eras Tour on November 2nd, and those are confirmed to be the final Eras Tour shows. We do continue to clown a little bit more like until like it actually ends, but those are said to be the final shows, and that is stuck too. The first night on Thursday in Buenos Aires on November 9th, we get the debut of the pink and magenta bodysuit, the like all pink lover bodysuit and the matching matching all pink jacket, as well as the very first night in Labyrinth. Her second show in Buenos Aires is Travis's first show, and our first Karma is the guy on the Chiefs moment. That was insane that she did that. So cute, flirty, and like bold of her. Metal as hell, if you will. If you know, you know. Paired with an Is It Over Now Out of the Woods mashup. The mashup we were like begging for since we heard like the 1989 vault, but also the first mashup surprise song, and Endgame, which like for Travi, duh. And then the third night in Buenos Aires on Sunday, she sang Better Than Revenge paired with, which is like kind of an ironic pairing because in one she is talking about being called a slut, and then like the other one she's effectively the person calling someone else a slut. So like growth. The Latin American leg was wrapped up in Brazil, starting in Rio, followed by Sao Paulo. Now when she got to Rio, the famous Christ the Redeemer statue was dressed in the Junior Jules t-shirt from the You Belong With Me video as like a welcome to her. Very cute. Some people found it offensive, but like it was a fun like thing to like honor the Eras Tour, come into town just like a lot of other cities had done. They'd done it for literal like football matches and football teams before. So the Eras Tour just as big of an event. Now you do have to remember that this is in the Southern Hemisphere, even though it is in November, so that is summer for them. The Southern Hemisphere experiences seasons that are opposite from the Northern Hemisphere, like we have in the United States. If you did not know, that's why like for Australians, like Christmas is like in the summer and like July is like the dead of winter. So it was incredibly hot and incredibly humid there. You can even see Taylor really struggling and sweating buckets on stage. She is calling for water to be passed out to fans from her security, which it is not Taylor's security team's job to hydrate her fans, but she had them out there doing it.
It's right. Sorry, it's just very hot. So when somebody says they need water when it's this hot, they really need it. Do you see this? Do you see it? Are we good? We don't need to chant. It's totally fine. We just need to get water to
She was throwing water bottles to fans. She was tossing them off of the stage. The stadium was not allowing water bottles from the outside in, and they were charging, I believe, the equivalent of $6 for like these teeny tiny water bottles. And like I said, if you had a floor ticket, you couldn't leave your spot if you didn't want to lose it and then have to find your way all the way back to your people, your friends, through all of the sweaty people in the heat. And so all of that being said, one Swiftie, Ana Clara Benavides Machado, did end up passing out and passing away during the concert due to lack of water and heat exhaustion. And that simply should not happen. And that's been talked about a ton since it happened. I don't want to harp on it, but that simply should not happen. These venues have a responsibility to their guests, to the people attending their event, to make sure that they are kept safe. And so if temperatures are at that point and there are going to be that many people in your venue, you need to be providing water to them. That has been discussed, but there was no show the next night. There was a show on Sunday night where, as surprise song, she played Bigger Than the Whole Sky in honor of Anna, as well as what she'd been told was her favorite song, Dancing With Our Hands Tied, that she'd hoped to hear as a surprise song that night. She also invited Anna's family to come to the show the next weekend in Sao Paulo if they wanted to. Final night in Rio, she sang Me and So It Goes. This was also the night that one of her heels broke, and she literally just like ripped it off and threw it into the crowd and like finished her set without it, which like iconic. For the final 3 shows of the Latin American leg and the final shows of 2023 in Sao Paulo, she did Now That We Don't Talk and Innocent, Safe and Sound and Untouchable, and Say Don't Go and It's Time to Go. That final show in Brazil was show number 66, and it was on November 24th of 2023. There was then a 2-month break before picking up the Asia and European leg of the tour starting in Tokyo in February. So she had like the holidays, and then she had a break, which like we now know was probably used rehearsing for Tortured Poets in some ways. And then a few days before the tour came back, we had the Tortured Poets Grammys on February 4th, where Midnight's won Album of the Year, and before she knew that was going to happen, because she was like actually like shocked, did not expect, which is why she like went up on stage and was just like, Lana, come here, Lana, come here, and had like nothing else to say because she was fully not expecting it. Her surprise face actually surprised this time. But when she went up to accept Best Pop Vocal Album, she announced that Tortured Poets would be coming out on April 19th.
Which is that my brand new album comes out April 19th. It's called The Tortured Poets Department. I'm gonna go and post the cover right now backstage. Thank you, I love you, thank you.
A few days later, she pops up in Tokyo. A few days later, she's at the Super Bowl. This was when, like, I don't know if you remember, everyone was doing all these calculations, like, how can she be in Vegas right after she's in Tokyo? It's the next day, what is the time difference? In Tokyo, nothing new was brought up the first night. She performed Dear Reader and Holy Ground, followed by Eyes Open and Electric Touch, and then Superman and The Outside, which like flop, but this was also the night that she like tripped when she was getting up from the folklore cabin and like going down to the first level, and I believe she said something about it. She was like, my life flashed before my eyes just now.
Yeah, I almost fell off the folklore cabin, but I didn't, and that's the lesson. Ugh. My life flashed before my eyes. Yeah, no, I'm good. It's all good. Everything's fine. Everything's great. I'm just so happy that I didn't fall off the folklore cabin. You know what I mean?
I would have caught you.
And then the final night in Tokyo, she did Come In With the Rain and You're On Your Own Kid number 4. And it was that Saturday show that people were like, how is she gonna do that and then be in Vegas for the Super Bowl on Sunday? And she did, she made it. So this was again, like just a thrilling time to be a Swiftie, because the Eras Tour was back, and then she was at the Super Bowl. And then, but 5 days later, Miss Girl was in Australia with her Travi by her side in Melbourne with the Bolter vinyl announcement and Red and You're Losing Me as surprise songs. This was the first live performance of You're Losing Me. Everyone went crazy. This is what I mean by like a cookie. Like, it's not like they got anything like super special, but they were there for like a vinyl announcement, and like you got You're Losing Me as a surprise song. That's like a, you know, I'd feel satisfied if I was at Melbourne night 1. Melbourne night 2 was the first night that she was like on her like surprise song mashup shit. Like, this was when we really took off with that. She did Getaway Car, August, The Other Side of the Door mashup, and then This Is Me Trying. Then at night 3, she did another mashup of Come Back Be Here in Daylight along with Teardrops on My Guitar. Now, the first night in Sydney, if you know, you know, had a delayed start. So Sabrina Carpenter's opening set was canceled. So during the surprise song, she invited her up to sing a song with her, and Sabrina Carpenter chose White Horse, which like, such a Swiftie pick. She also performed Coney Island and How You Get the Girl, which like kind of flops, honestly, if you hadn't gotten that Sabrina add-on in there. So go Sydney night 1 for that add-on, and then also the announcement of the Albatross vinyl variant. Night 2 in Sydney, we got the first double mashup of Should Have Said No and You're Not Sorry, along with New Year's Day and Peace. So the first like 4-song mashup and mashup surprise song. Night 3 in Sydney, we got I Wish You Would and Is It Over Now, which like cosmically linked songs, literally like sister songs. Like, in my mind, they sound so similar. And then the amazing, iconic first Haunted Exile mashup. It lives in my heart, as it should live in all of ours. When Rafiki said he lives in you, he lives in me, he was personifying this haunted exile mashup, this performance. On the final fourth night in Swiftie show 77 on February 26, 2024, we got Would've, Could've, Should've and Ivy. Very interesting to dig into if you go with like the story of both of those songs. And Forever and Always, and yet another performance of Maroon. And finally, Singapore, the final city before TTP was dropped onto the world and the Eras Tour as we know it in March of 2024. On the 2nd, she pulled up to Singapore on Saturday and did a mashup of Mine and Starlight, another performance of I Don't Want to Live Forever paired with Dress, a great pairing. But also, I didn't know she liked I Don't Want to Live Forever that much. I didn't realize she had 6 nights in Singapore. I think it's because that was like a very central location for like a lot of different like areas and countries to like come to these shows. But the second night she announced the TTPD vinyl variant. Like little did we know how much more there was to come. The Black Dog. We were starting to get kind of wary of the vinyl variant announcements at this point. Wild too that like that's the one that ended up being the cover for the anthology, and like if we had only known like the Black Dog, like we were like getting a little salty like when the Black Dog was announced, like hilarious. But she also kind of like pulled a switch a little bit because she had announced the other variants on her first night in the previous 2 cities, and this was the second night, so we were all like, we thought it was over and it wasn't. And we were all kind of like a little. So that night she did Long Story Short and Story of Us and Clean and Evermore. Third night she did Foolish One and Tell Me Why and This Love and Call It What You Want. Few days break hanging out with Travi in Singapore. She came back on Thursday with another performance, number 3 of Death by a Thousand Cuts, mashed up with Babe, as well as 15 and another performance of You're on Your Own, Kid. If you are keeping track, we are at number 5. Friday show 82, she did Sparks Fly and Gold Rush paired with False God and Slut. And her final night in Singapore, the final show before TTPD, the final performance of Long Live with the Koi Fish guitar, the final performance of The Last Great American Dynasty, of Tolerate It, of Our Fallen Soldiers, Tim McGraw and Cowboy Like Me, and Mirrorball and Epiphany. That was on Saturday, March 9th, and there was a 2-month break and an album drop before we came back in Paris. So it is the next day, and I have my updated Eras Tour t-shirt, my little London mug, and my beret, because after the Singapore shows, there was a 2-month break in which the Tortured Poets department came out. Now, the last Singapore show was on Saturday, March 9th, 2024, and Tortured Poets Department was released on April 19th. As you may well know, it was a surprising double album drop. It was twice as long as we thought it could possibly be, with a total of 31 songs, a full another album in addition to the track list that we had previously seen released for the Tortured Poets Department. The second half of the album was titled The Anthology, referring to the entire collection together. There were various different thoughts about this initial double album drop. She'd been signaling it for a few months since the announcement, with the 2 fingers or like the peace sign going up in the air constantly, and people weren't quite sure what that meant. It meant 2 albums, and the second half of the album would be released at 2 a.m. Now, there were 3 weeks in between this release and the next Eras Tour show in Paris. Now, people were fairly certain that she was going to play Paris as a surprise song along with one of the Tortured Poets tracks, which was absolutely true. What people were not certain of was the permanent part of the show that she added to the Eras Tour. She rearranged the entire set, cut a few numbers, and slotted in an entire Tortured Poets era right before the surprise songs. There were like speculations, and people thought that like maybe she was going to add in Tortured Poets things, because there was footage of like her rehearsing for like the coming back of the Eras Tour, and like there were things that people were fairly certain were not in the show before, and so people were pretty sure there was going to be at least like 1 addition, but like we weren't sure how big that addition was going to be. But she really crafted like a full era for this new era. Featured 7 songs from the album, all but 1 of them were from the original Tortured Poets Department 13 track list. Coincidentally, the only one that made it on from the anthology version was So High School, the one and only song about her current boyfriend Travis. Very, very cute. And there are like a lot of little details incorporated into that number that are like referential to him, and like the Karma is the guy on the chiefs of it all. If you would like to hear about that, I have a whole video about the first Paris show and all of the details of the new Tortured Poets Department set. But on top of that, we got a new outfit for almost every single era in Paris, on top of new Tortured Poets Department set, on top of hearing Paris in Paris like we thought we were going to, and hearing LOML on the piano as the first Tortured Poets surprise song. In the Lover era, she stepped out in a new bright pink and orange bodysuit with a matching orange blazer. And then for the Fearless era, there's just something about like the tinseliness and the way you can tell that this is like a bodysuit made into a dress. And like, I like that about my favorite Fearless dress, and I hate it about this one. It just feels like Christmas tree tinsel in a way that I don't love. And I'm sure it's nicer than that if I saw it closer, but from a distance, that's what it looks like to me. This is not Taylor's version red t-shirt. What people call the swirls enchanted gown, and I personally call flower petal gown, because I feel like supposed swirls to me look more like layered flower petals going down the skirt of the gown. I could be wrong, but I really like that one. That is one of my favorites. The Reputation outfit remained unchanged, and that is something that I have not talked about yet. There was a growing conspiracy throughout the Eras tour about the fact that the Reputation bodysuit was the only outfit throughout the entire tour that didn't have multiple iterations and multiple versions of it and never changed. And so people were dead set on the idea, me included, dead set on the idea that when Reputation Taylor's version was announced or released, that the bodysuit would change to the new, Reputation Taylor's version colors. Or like there was a time when it was like starting to like have wear and tear on like one of the snakes, like on her armpit on the side that like didn't have a sleeve, and people literally were like, the snakes, they're shedding. It was so like, the clownery was so incredibly high, but also like it's absolutely ridiculous and insane that she really did just keep that one outfit for almost the entire tour. She did change it a little bit later, which I was shocked at, but it was like kind of like a nothing like change too. Like the outfit just changed and it came with nothing, which is like so not what we're all expecting, which is why we're all like, so what's happening with the Rep TV release now? Anyway, it's almost February. It's the end of January as I'm recording this, so we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, that was a huge thing within the Swiftie community during the Eras tour, and it kind of like bled out so that like other people understood that there was something about Reputation Taylor's version, and there was something about that one outfit, the one outfit that didn't change, and people kind of understood that. That's part of the reason why when I attended the Eras tour, that is the outfit that I chose to make, because I just felt that it was the most iconic, and in my like heart and soul, I was like, I swear to God, if this bitch changes it before I get to match her, I'll lose my mind. But she didn't. The Folklore and Evermore albums were combined into one era, and she had a new dress, and it was a yellow version of what the white Folklore dress had looked like before, with the little capey sleeves and the kind of like square neckline. This is also where we premiered the new 1989 outfits. Now, this is an unpopular opinion. I was personally partial to the beaded Cavalli sets for 1989. I thought they were cuter, I thought they were prettier, but I do think that like the matrix with the different colors in the top and the bottom and the shoes ended up being fun. But essentially she stepped out the first night in Paris for the 1989 era looking like a Trix yogurt. She had on a two-piece set that very closely resembled a set that she had worn in the 1989 era. It was kind of that like halter neck style top that everyone was wearing right around 2014, 2015 when this album came out, and a skater style skirt to go with it. The top was a bedazzled pink with a little like cat lion thing in the center, and the bottom was a bedazzled blue, and she had one shoe of each color, the left one matching her top and the right one matching her skirt. She, throughout the rest of the shows, proceeded to show us that she did in fact have pink, orange, green, blue, yellow, and purple versions of the top and the bottom and each one of the shoes, and proceeded to wear them in different combinations and different iterations. It was a very fun and common thing to do, to track through a matrix of the different pairings of colors, see which ones she had left and the ones that she was most likely to wear on each stop, depending on, like, you know, the sports teams in that area. Like in New Orleans, I know she wore like 2 different colors together for like Mardi Gras. She wore red and yellow for the Chiefs a couple times. She actually did wear one of the midnight skirt dresses we had seen before. She wore like the dark purple one, but beneath it, she had on a new chevron patterned bodysuit. I think this one is very much in the middle. I don't like absolutely love it. I don't hate it. I think it's cute. And then, of course, she had a new surprise song wrap dress. This one I really just liked the style of a lot more than the ones that she was wearing before, and she definitely didn't have to like struggle with the sleeves as much. I forget the night that she literally like put her arm in wrong. She had a nice bright pink one this day. And last but not least, the Tortured Poets department era obviously had outfits that we had never seen before. She started off with her white text patterned gown. The text on her dress read, "I love you, it's ruining my life," over and over and over again, just like on the typewriter in the Fortnite music video. She performed in that dress, running dramatically with it from side to side of the stage during But Daddy, I Love Him, falling down into it during Down Bad. And then after she perishes at the end of The Smallest Man Who Ever Lives and she is revived by her dancers, they strip it off to her to reveal a glittery 2-piece set. This first night's was in black, and they pop on a ringmaster jacket. This first night's one was in a metallic gold, and she proceeds to do I Can Do It With a Broken Heart in this new snazzy outfit. So the entire Tortured Poets ensemble really is made of the white overpiece of the dress with the text on it, the gloves, the booties, and the choker that go with that, the Smallest Man Who Ever Lived jacket that's put on just for that song. Then afterwards, the 2-piece set that has been under the dress the entire time. They change out the booties for a pair of heels and then pop on the jacket. And from there, she is backstage and then back out again in her surprise song wrap dress for the surprise songs. I'm assuming that she probably has on like the Tortured Poets set on under the surprise dress, or maybe not. Maybe she just takes it off. I don't know. Songs that were cut to accommodate the Tortured Poets department set list were sad and controversial, but predictable, I would argue. She ended up cutting The Archer, 'Tis the Damn Season, Tolerate It, The Last Great American Dynasty, and Long Live, as well as The One. So the folklore part of the set really just starts now with her on top of the cabin singing Cardigan. The second night in Paris did not get all new outfits. They got a few though. They got a new red t-shirt with I Bet You Think About Me, a bright red, people are calling it berry, but I just think it's red, folklore dress that looks just like the green one with the vines. This is actually my least favorite folklore dress. I think it's very, very weird that they then for 1989, she stepped out in an orange top and a purple skirt with shoes to match. Her Tortured Poets dress was the same, but the 2-piece set underneath was now a sparkly white set instead of a black one, and instead of a gold ringmaster's jacket, they put on a sparkly white one with silver trim. And appropriately, her gloves were white to match. The surprise song dress was this really pretty like blue ombre mixture of this light blue and dark blue. Her guitar surprise song she did in Is It Over Now Out of the Woods mashup, a classic at this point, a favorite, and she pulled out another Tortured Poets song in My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toys for her piano surprise song. What we did not know was that live recordings of these TTPD songs were later going to be sold as individual downloads that you could buy via her website. There was some controversy with this because people were accusing her of using this to game the charts so that Tortured Poets department appeared to have more sales than it actually did, thus blocking other artists from earning a #1 spot above Tortured Poets department. Night 3 in Paris got yet another performance of Maroon as their surprise song on piano, as well as Hey Steven, and no appearance of a Tortured Poets department song in the surprise songs in sight. And the only new outfits she pulled out were a pink and green combo for the 1989 set, as well as her new orange surprise song wrap wrap, and a dark gray two-piece set for Tortured Poets accompanied by a matching ringmaster's jacket. The final night in Paris, I think, got quite a slew of surprise songs. Honestly, I feel like the third night in Paris completely flopped compared to all of the others because they got a mashup of The Alchemy and Treacherous and then a mashup of Begin Again and Paris. And then they got a new silver Tortured Poets department jacket, the 1989 combo of yellow and orange. I'm pretty sure this was because Travis was there that night for the Chiefs, and the I Knew You Were Trouble red t-shirt. This was the final iteration of the red t-shirts. Now moving to Stockholm the following week, on Friday she started out with no new outfits because she had premiered so many the week before. She was just filtering those into the rotation throughout the next few cities. She did reward them with a slew of surprise songs though, with a mashup of I Think He Knows and Gorgeous and Peter on the piano. Saturday in Stockholm also won on night 2 because they got a mashup of Say Don't Go, Welcome to New York and Clean on the piano, as well as Guilty as Sin on the guitar. And like, to be rewarded with Guilty as Sin as your first surprise song, I'd lose my mind. To be the first people to get Guilty as Sin. And like, she did not play that a lot as much as people like it. It was like kind of paid dust. Final night in Stockholm, she did a new 1989 color combo with blue and yellow, as well as having different colored top and bottom for her Tortured Poets department set. She had a gold top and a black bottom, and then they did the gold jacket with that. Part of me wonders, like, was there just like an issue and like they just only had like this top and this bottom and like they just like made that work together because the gold jacket would work with it, or like was that like a choice? I don't know. I just like, I'm curious because that's literally the one and only time that happened. They did not do it again, and so it makes me think that it was by force, like it wasn't something that was intentional, but I could be wrong. Let me know what you think. She pulled out for surprise songs Message in a Bottle, How You Get the Girl, New Romantics mashup on the guitar, which just sounds like so fun, followed by a complete mood change with How Did It End on the piano, which I like was kind of like lukewarm on that song when I first heard it. I just thought it was like really fucking sad, but like maybe in like a little bit of a gratuitous way, to be honest. When I heard the live version, like you can just tell that like this is her song and she wrote it and she knows what it means. If you don't understand that song, she helps you. She then moved on to Lisbon. We are at show 91 on May 24th now, where she debuted the purple 1989 top along with the blue skirt, which we had already seen, and she continued on her mashup shit, man. She did Come Back Be Here, The Way I Loved You, and The Other Side of the Door mashup on guitar, which was just like, go look that up. It's a good time. Like she just like, she never stopped, man. And then a Fresh Out the Slammer High Infidelity mashup on the piano. Night 2 in Lisbon, she did a mashup of the Tortured Poets department song And Now That We Don't Talk, which I find super interesting because Tortured Poets department song was about like the beginning and like the blossoming of a relationship, and Now That We Don't Talk literally is like where she is now with the person in question that she was in that relationship with, and I just find it very interesting. And I also wonder, I don't feel like Maddie Healy listens to acid rock, and that song's like definitively not about him, but I find it to be appropriate and like clever for the point in time at which she sang it. She followed that up with an absolute gem mashup of You're On Your Own, Kid and Long Live, which I would have died to be present for. Like, how much more Swiftie does it get, dude? Like, literally, like, because like You're On Your Own, Kid is low-key like the Long Live of like today, and like you really flew through this next batch of Europe shows without a ton new, just a lot of mashups and inclusion of the Tortured Poets department songs within those surprise song mashups. So in Madrid, show 93 on May 29th, we got a mashup of Sparks Fly and I Can Fix Him, No Really I Can, which like kind of like I see it and I hear it now that she put them next to each other, because it's also like definitely Sparks Fly is like very clearly about like kind of like an I Can Fix Him kind of guy in like a younger way. And then I Look in People's Windows and Snow on the Beach for the third time. To be honest, not really seeing those two together, but I would have really preferred a full iteration of I Look in People's Windows, but it's fine. She's allowed to do what she wants to do. She clearly likes Snow on the Beach more than I do. I like Snow on the Beach, I do. I just like, I had really high hopes for it, and like they just weren't necessarily met, and I kind of feel like it's a Christmas song. Something in my head like attaches it to Christmas, and so like, I don't know, I just feel like I've been cursed to not really like get the full like enjoyment out of it. Maybe I just need to like come back to it now that I've had a fast from it for a while. I don't know. But for the second night in Madrid, she did a throwback mashup of our song and Jump Then Fall, and then just straight up King of My Heart, which she also seems to like to do. Moving on to Lyon, France, she pulled up there on a Sunday on June 2nd for show 96. This was a rain show, and she sang a mashup of The Prophecy and Long Story Short and 15 and You're On Your Own Kid, which just 15 and You're On Your Own Kid sung in the rain by Taylor Swift, a core memory. The next day was not a rain show. On Monday, her second show in Lyon, she did a matchup of Glitch and Everything Has Changed. I do not think of those songs as about similar situations, but okay. And then finally, Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus on the piano. Moving on to Edinburgh, show number 97 on a Friday, June 7th, Would've, Could've, Should've, and I Know Places mashup. Very interesting. And then 'Tis the Damn Season, Daylight. That's again, like, I do not see those two songs together like at all. I don't know what she was on in Edinburgh night one, to be totally honest. If you were there or you like see what's happening with these song mashups, let me know. But what I did love was the next mashup, the next night on Saturday in Edinburgh, night 2, the mashup of The Bolter and Getaway Car, and then All of the Girls You've Loved Before and Crazier. I am not even a fan of All the Girls You've Loved Before. I'm kind of like mid on that song, but I did think it was very sweet to mash it up with Crazier, and I was a stan of The Bolter Getaway Car mashup. It was like destined to happen. I'm so happy that it did. This was also the first appearance of the Tortured Poets Department black pair of gloves. And then finally, the last night in Edinburgh, they got like such a like hot and cold pairing of surprise songs, because at first they got It's Nice to Have a Friend and Dorothea. Now, I cannot stand It's Nice to Have a Friend, and I know a lot of people feel that way about Dorothea. I love Dorothea personally. I would have been so upset though to have Dorothea mashed up with It's Nice to Have a Friend, because I would have wanted that one out of there. If she had not sung that the entire like run of the Eras Tour, I think so many people would have been okay. But then she followed that up. Once everyone was like kind of smiling and being like, oh, okay, she followed that up with Haunted Exile again. And like, bless her for doing that. She also premiered the green 1989 skirt this day. We had already seen the top, we got to see the bottom now. For the 100th Eras Tour show, she headed to Liverpool on a Thursday, June 13th. She did a mashup of I Can See You and Mine, as well as Cornelia Street, and again, Maroon. I swear to God, like there's something about that song, man. Like it does something for her, or it's like there's something like in the back of my head, I wonder if like playing that song is like the twisting of a knife in some way, and like in a way that like only her and someone else like would know. And like I kind of hope that's what it is, because she really does play it so much. And she matched up with Cornelia Street, which is just ow. But she did talk a little bit about how magical it has been to do this for 100 shows with the fans and in all of these amazing places. And during 22, we got for the 100th time no from Cam during his little moment on the mic. Show number 101, she stayed in Liverpool, did a mashup of This Is What You Came For and Gold Rush, reminding us that that is in fact her song. If you do not know the lore, that is a song that she helped produce and write with her then boyfriend Calvin Harris, that ended up being sung by Rihanna and was a massive hit. She was listed under a pseudonym, Nils Sjoberg or whatever. There's a way to pronounce it that I don't want to look up, but this thing, you know, it's on the Reputation gravestone, that pseudonym, she is listed under that pseudonym in the credits for the song, and her and Calvin Harris did not have the best of endings as far as we know, considering that she has said that she had to claw her way out of that relationship and that she needed another person to be a getaway car for her from it. So her her reclaiming this song as one of her own by playing it as a surprise song is pretty cool and badass, and we love that for her. She followed it up with a mashup of The Great War and You're Losing Me on piano. The last night in Liverpool, she did a mashup of Carolina, the song that she did for the Where the Crawdads Sing movie that I like kind of try and ignore because I actually liked that movie and I liked the book, but I don't feel like this song was necessary for her or anybody, to be honest. But in the absence of Haim, she did mash it up with No Body, No Crime, and then followed it up with a mashup of Red and The Manuscript, which I feel like The Manuscript had the right to be mashed up with a song from Red eventually, so I'm really happy that it happened, and I find it interesting that she chose Red. She really likes that song. Of all the songs on Red that she like plucks and chooses to sing as a surprise song, I feel like she chooses that one the most. For her one night in Cardiff, she did a mashup of I Forgot That You Existed and This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things. Again, two songs that I feel like were like destined to be mashed up together, and I love that she did. And then I Hate It Here and The Lakes. This is a beautiful mashup, if a long one. There is a like vocals isolated version on TikTok that I listened to recently. Mwah, beautiful, haunting songs that have like very similar souls to them, I would say. And this actually really, I liked I Hate It Here, but this, because I love The Lakes, brought me closer to loving I Hate It Here. Now, she did two sets of shows in London, one at the beginning of the summer and one at the end. So this was her first stint in London, starting with show 104 on June 21st. She did a mashup of Hits Different and Death by a Thousand Cuts, along with a mashup of The Black Dog, Come Back Be Here, and Maroon on the piano. This is such an iconic night to have been there. The second night, she did a mashup of Thank You Amy and Mean, which, like, if you're gonna dress up Thank You Amy, I think this is a good way to do it. And then as Hayley Williams was there opening, she brought her up to sing Castles Crumbling with her on the piano. For the final night, Us featuring Taylor Swift by Gracie Abrams had come out, and while Gracie Abrams was not the opener that night, she did come out during the surprise songs to sing Us with Taylor Swift for the first surprise song, followed by a mashup of Is It Over Now and Clean on the piano. I think she just like phoned this one in because there was so much going on that night. It was like the last show in London and she had Gracie coming up to sing Us. This is also an instance where Taylor swallowed a bug.
I swallowed a bug. Here we are again, in another night, dance around the kitchen in the refrigerator, right down the stairs. I was there, I remember it all too well. And there we are again, nobody had to know.
And this was also the show where Travis came out during the Tortured Poets Department section and was one of the like dancers and like vaudeville men who picked Taylor up after she had perished at the end of Smallest Man Who Ever Lived. He scooped her up and helped fan her and stand her back up while the other two got her changed. He put some little blush on her cheeks and she blew him a kiss as she walked away to start the number. It was the cutest, funnest thing. It was the absolute best. He seemed like he was having a blast doing it. He had a big smile on his face the whole time. He did a fantastic job. I love it. You really, really should go watch it. I might go watch it again after this. After that, she headed to Dublin, where her first surprise song was a mashup of State of Grace and yet another iteration of You're On Your Own Kid, followed by a heartbreaking mashup of Sweet Nothing and Hope. So many of these mashups are so good. Some of them are a little bit out there, but so many of them are so good, and that's one of them. Night 2 in Dublin got a mashup of The Albatross and Dancing with Our Hands Tied, which connected, but very, very, very different vibes. And then a mashup of This Love and Ours, which I think is very cute and definitely fits despite how like separate those albums are and like how different those songs are. On the final night in Dublin, she finally sang Clara, one of my favorites. I have so many favorites from Tortured Poets Department. I'm gonna say that so many times. But I was like waiting for her to sing that. And she mashed it up appropriately with The Lucky One. You know how like there are like sister and like cousin Taylor Swift songs, like if you know, you know, those are definitely sister Swift songs, followed by the 9th iteration of You're On Your Own Kid. No one was complaining. I certainly was not, and I still am not. because it should have been part of the set list. The first night in Amsterdam, got to see the second performance of Guilty as Sin. Again, a mashup though with Untouchable. Really interesting and actually kind of makes sense. And like, I love the vibes of those songs together. I feel like they both have like a sparkliness to them. And then The Archer mashed up with Question. There's just like kind of a lot there. I'm Gonna Get You Back and Dress, an iconic mashup, was in night 2 in Amsterdam, followed by You Are in Love and Cowboy Like Me, which took me a second, but then I was like, no, like those songs are both like dripping in romance. And I think I just am partial to one of them and like understand why people love Cowboy Like Me. It was just never my personal favorite lovey Swiftie song, although I am a sucker for Now You Hang From My Lips Like the Gardens of Babylon. Kills me every time. The final night in Amsterdam, she pulled out Sweeter Than Fiction and mashed up with Holy Ground, which I think absolutely made sense. And then a mashup of Mary Song, So High School, and Everything Has Changed, which I feel was just like a I Love My Chappie mashup. Then in Zurich, she mashed up Evermore, Right Where You Left Me, and All You Had to Do Was Stay. And then Last Kiss and Sad, Beautiful, Tragic. Second and final night in Zurich got Closure and A Perfectly Good Heart mashup, followed by a mashup of Robin and Never Grow Up. Kind of a mid-level flop if you ask me, but if you disagree, let me know. We are well into July of 2024 now in Milan. The 115th show was on Saturday, July 13th. She did a mashup of Wonderland and The One, which I found really interesting because Wonderland, if you take the poppy beat out of it, is a sad song saying we found Wonderland and we got lost in it, and essentially now it's over. And that's also what The One is about, and I love both of those songs, especially The One. I ride for The One so hard. It hurts sometimes how much The One has like a grip on my heart, and so I love the slowing down of Wonderland and the weaving of it into The One. I think that's absolutely incredible. We also got The Moment I Knew and I Almost Do. I thought I Almost Do would be mashed up with I Wish You Would, but I do see this. They're both from Red. This was also the first day that we saw the second version of the Tortured Poets Department, the white dress with the text. This time, instead of I love you, it's ruining my life, it said, who's afraid of little old me? This was also the debut of the Tiger Fearless dress, which I like. Again, it's not my favorite. It's definitely not my least favorite though, and I definitely like it more than the octopus dresses. I see the idea behind the octopus dresses. I just want them to look less like tentacles. That's all I'm asking for. More graceful, less tentacle. Tiger though, I like the colors, I get it. Is tiger print part of Fearless though? That's my question. I'll let you answer that. I don't have a problem with the dress. I don't have a problem with the dress. And I understand they introduced it late in the tour. I think it's cute. I think it looks great on her. I think it's really pretty. I like the cut of it. I like the length. I like a lot of things about it. Is tiger print an element of Fearless though? However, it is in everything bagel, an element of Speak Now, you know? The second and final night in Milan was the night the surprise song piano kind of briefly like malfunctioned during the surprise song set, and she was like, we have finally broke this thing, and it actually got fixed and it was fine. But we also got the debut of, it's purple, but it's like a beaded purple. Personally, it's a little too promy. The cut of the top for me is just, it's not really doing it for me. I don't hate it. I like that it's purple for Speak Now, but we got the debut of that dress. We only saw it a few more times throughout the rest of the run of shows, but for surprise songs, we got a mashup of Mr. Perfectly Fine and Red, which makes perfect sense for me, and then followed by a mashup of Getaway Car and Out of the Woods. The next city, Gelsenkirchen, did in fact rename their city briefly Swiftskirchen. There she did a mashup of Superstar and Invisible String, followed by Slut and False God. Slut and False God, steamy hot mashup. Absolutely love that. Didn't love the first one, love that though. And the second night she did a mashup of Speak Now and Hey Steven, which like very young, very cutesy. Like I would have kind of lived for that when I was like 13. I would have been like, oh, she's speaking now at Steven's wedding. Now, would have been fun to hear her sing like those two like older like classic songs that I sung so much as a kid though. And then This Is Me Trying and Labyrinth, low-key flop, but I know some people ride for those songs. songs. It is not me though. And then Friday, she did Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in Gelsenkirchen. Wild. But it was also in like July, so like summer. And then the third and final night in Gelsenkirchen, she did a mashup of Paper Rings and Stay, Stay, Stay. Very cute, fun, and flouncy. And then she took the vibe down a little bit with a mashup of It's Time to Go and Better Man, which I really, really like. And then followed by that, we had another rain show, the final European rain show in Hamburg on the first night, where she did a mashup of Teardrops on My Guitar and The Last Time, followed by We Were Happy and Happiness. None of which are happy songs at all, but like in the rain, you know, vibes. Sorry, I had to stop filming last night because my dear doggy is recovering from surgery and she needed me. The second night in Hamburg, she did The Last Great American Dynasty. I really wish she just would have given it to us in its entirety, but maybe that's just because I'm not the biggest Run fan, but she mashes that up with Run, and then she mashes up Dear Reader and Nothing New, which absolute like Swift cousin songs, absolutely destined to be mashed up. And that would have been a really like, I don't know, like cosmic experience to hear her sing those two. I feel like that's the equivalent of like getting advice from God. There are gonna be so many people who take me way too seriously and are like, this girl's ill. The first night in Munich, she did a mashup of Fresh Out the Slammer and You Are in Love. Fresh Out the Slammer and You Are in Love are not at the same point in a romance to me, but I do get like the tone of them, like audibly they do have like a similar hazy sound to them. And then a mashup of Ivy and Call It What You Want. I love like taking Ivy and like infusing it with something like a little more and bringing out some spice, like giving another layer to like the story that is there. The second night in Munich, she pulled back out I Don't Want to Live Forever and mashed it up with I'm Gonna Get You Back, which similar tones, I definitely see that. And then a mashup of LOML and Don't You. And you know, I have to say that sucks. I really wish that she just wouldn't have ruined LOML in that way, but you know, that's her choice, they're her songs. Then in Warsaw, she did a mashup of Clara Bow and Mirror Ball, and then Suburban Legends and New Year's Day, which curious. Not sure how I feel about that, but I feel like this is the time really, now that I'm looking at all of these, he's not really doing like mashups of songs that have messages that coincide, but more ones that are sonically similar, and she's using that to match songs up. Warsaw Night 2, I Can Fix Him, No Really I Can, and I Can See You. That's a fun steamy matchup. I really, really like that. And then Red and Maroon. I feel like, was it red or was it maroon, Tay? I'm gonna be honest. I feel like that initially it seems like it's like a destined mashup, but then you think about it and you're like, was it red or was it maroon, babe? Because they are two different colors. And I feel like you of all people would agree, but I wonder which, like, there's no way she didn't say Loving Him was red and it was maroon within the same mashup. And in that case, like, hello. So the mashups for Warsaw have been a little bit hit and miss, but then on the last night in Warsaw, she did a mashup of Today Was a Fairy Tale and I Think He Knows, very beginning of relationship, cutesy perfection, and then a mashup of The Black Dog and Exile. And I feel like those absolutely share emotions, and I love those two songs in the same way. The same part of my heart loves both of those songs as much as I do, because they are two of my favorites from both of their respective albums. So Warsaw last night, you may have been coming in feeling a little trepidatious about your surprise songs, or maybe you weren't, maybe you thought all of the ones before were slay. If you were on the last night of Warsaw, mwah, you were gifted. Unless your Today Was a Fairy Tale, I Think He Knows hater. I feel like those songs are very like fun, bouncy, like beginning of a relationship, like early stages of love, bouncy girliness. If you're not into those Taylor Swift songs, maybe those aren't your faves, but I think that's really cute, and I love the idea of like Today Was a Fairy Tale and I feel this magic in the air, and I think he knows I feel that way. I'm like, so cute, I love it. And then followed by just being absolutely like knocked down by The Black Dog and Exile. And then after that, unfortunately, the next 3 shows in Vienna were canceled. These were the only shows of theirs tour that were canceled, and it was because of a threat of a attack that did end up being real, and there was some blowback to Taylor Swift not speaking on it until she was back in the United States and the European leg of the tour was over. She did this for the safety of herself, her tour, and her fans and everyone participating in the tour going forward, and it was very upsetting for all of the Swifties in Vienna who were from there and who had traveled to Vienna to see these shows. I got to see one Eras Tour show, and then like my show was in London. It's one of the ones coming up, and I would have been absolutely devastated if I had flown all the way to London just for this one thing, and it was my one Taylor Swift show in my entire life maybe, and it was canceled. I don't think I would ever let that go. Would I rather have that happen than potentially me or other Swifties or participants in the tour lose their life due to a terrorist attack? Yes, absolutely. But there was definitely some harsh words and criticism by Swifties and non-Swifties alike flung at Taylor Swift for allowing these shows to be canceled and then not speaking on it. People weren't criticizing her for the shows being canceled, but just the fact that she was not speaking to the disappointment and the hurt that it was causing. The Swifties that did have tickets to those shows, they obviously were refunded, and they gathered in the area and kind of had their own little Eras Tour celebrations of their own, which was really beautiful and great. Definitely look it up online. Swifties are so amazing, and that's something that I'll talk about at the end of this video. Just in the lasting impact of the Eras Tour, it really showed how there was a community that formed around this tour and this artist, and as someone who's been a Swiftie for such a long time, there has always been a community around Taylor Swift, but this really gave us opportunities to come out in droves and show love and support not only for Taylor but for each other, and I really thought that that shone through in Vienna with the Swifties. There, obviously nothing will make up for the Eras Tour shows that were canceled there. There were supposed to be 3 from Thursday through Saturday, and all 3 of them were canceled. So obviously that's not something anything can ever truly fully make up for, but I do hope the Swifties that were there, if you were one of them, feel free to comment down below what your experience was being in Vienna at the time, if you stuck around, if you left, if you participated in any Swiftie or Eras Tour themed fun during the days that your show or the shows were supposed to be. Please let me know what your experience was. The next shows were the last set of shows in Europe, and it was a set of 5 shows in London. She was going to do 3 shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday, skip Sunday, have a break, and then do her last 2 shows in Europe in London on Monday and Tuesday, August 19th and 20th. All of these shows went forward. They were a go at Wembley Stadium despite the shows in Vienna being canceled. The threat that was there was specific to that location and that stadium, and as someone who did attend actually one of these shows, it was incredibly safe and easy and just a fantastic experience. I have absolutely nothing bad to say about it. Security was present, but they were not threatening. They were hanging out there to help, and it was really like not a threatening environment. It felt very safe, it felt very secure, and I felt like a really big party. I had the absolute best time. So Ed Sheeran joined her for the first night, and she sang a mashup of Everything Has Changed, Endgame, and Thinking Out Loud with him, both of them on their guitars. That was really cool, followed by a mashup of King of My Heart yet again and The Alchemy. On night 2, Mr. Sheeran stepped away. This was my show, and I remember we were all like talking on like the tube there like about the surprise songs we wanted, and we were all talking about how like London Boy was lost to us. Like she had so many opportunities to do it when she was here in the spring. She didn't do it last night. Like London Boy is just like not gonna happen. And then when the surprise song set started, she did her little speech and she screamed, "God, I love the English." And there's a video of me literally just like screaming bloody murder.
The whole night I've just been thinking, God, I love the English.
And then she followed that up with a mashup of Dear John and Sad, Beautiful, Tragic, which I was kind of surprised to hear Sad, Beautiful, Tragic. This was only the second time that she sang Dear John. I was shocked and felt so incredibly lucky and gifted that I was present to hear her sing Dear John live. It felt like a gift to me as a longtime Swiftie who had not been able to attend the Speak Now tour, who had definitely wanted to. It felt like a little like here you go, like this is for you. I know everyone has like their own like little personal like, oh, this was what was for me at the Eras tour or whatever. That was my own little personal like self-centered myopic moment. I thought Sad Beautiful Tragic was an interesting one to mash up with that thematically, but again, I felt like at this point she really was doing like sonic cohesion with her mashups, and it did sound really, really good and was beautiful, and I enjoyed every single second of it. This was also the debut of the Stars and Moon bodysuit. This is glittery and gorgeous and amazing. I absolutely love this one. I don't want to say it's my favorite, but it's one of my favorites. It's up there. It's a little different than the others, but I think it's in a good way, and I'm really, really into it. I feel like every single night in London got like a little thing. They got like a little cookie. So like the first night they had Ed Sheeran. My night we got London Boy and Dear John. The third night she finally pulled out I Did Something Bad and did it on the guitar, followed by My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toys, mashed up with Coney Island, which I'm not entirely sure was necessary, but you know, I know there are stands of that song. I don't dislike that song. I'm very middling on that song. I think it's fine as far as like Evermore songs go. Then on night 4, they got a mashup of Long Live and Change, followed by a mashup of You're on Your Own, Kid and The Archer, which I ask, did we need The Archer here? I don't know. I see that they're both very self-reflective songs, and so I could see how it would be fun for her to like weave them into each other like that, but we already heard The Archer so much during the original set list. I really would just rather hear her saying You're on Your Own, Kid, but that's always what I would rather have than her mashing it up with things, and she's not gonna do that anymore, so I need to get over it. And then the last night in London got Death by a Thousand Cuts and Getaway Car with Jack Antonoff, followed by So Long London, in addition to being the first time Florence was added to the Tortured Poets set after So High School to sing Florida. This was also the day the I Can Do It With a Broken Heart music video was announced. I'm low-key bitter that Florence didn't join her for all of the London shows because I had actually predicted.
So tell me everything is not about me, but what if it is?
That might happen because Florence is a resident of London, but like it's fine. My prediction came true. I feel good about that anyway. And she did follow her all the way to Florida after her 2-month break. So the last shows in London were in the middle of August. The last one was on Monday, August 20th. And then the first show in Miami, her final US leg, the last 2 legs of the tour kicked off on October 18th, 2024 on Friday. She started her run in Miami, and this was it, man. This was the final run. We had this last US leg that just had 3 cities and then the 2 cities in Canada, and that was it, baby. So she pulled up in Miami, not ready to call it a day yet. We got 3 new outfits. Oh, I love the Beta Fish surprise song wrap dress, a lavender t-shirt dress. And then finally, there was not finally, actually, I'm going in reverse order. There was a new Fearless dress introduced, and I really like this one. It was giving, the Fearless outfits got progressively more ice skating outfitty as they were introduced, and I'm not opposed to that. And I think this one is actually really, really cute, and I would have taken this over the tinsel one. If we could throw the tinsel one out and have introduced this one and had this one since we've had that one the entire time, I would have been really happy, and it would have made me feel less iffy about the tiger stripe one, because the tiger stripe one came after the tinsel one, and I was like, so we have this tinsel one that I don't love, and now we have tiger stripes, and are tiger stripes really fearless? I don't know, but I wouldn't have had such a problem with the tiger stripes if the one before that hadn't been a flop. If it had been this cute ice princess, ice queen, fearless look, if you will, I would have been into it. It's like silver with like a blue kind of almost airbrushing in the center. It's really pretty. I like it a lot. There's like not as many tassels as I would like for a Fearless Era dress, but we'll take it. We've seen our other options. Some of them have tentacles and some of them have Christmas tree tinsel, so we're gonna roll with what we're getting at this point. For surprise songs, she did a mashup of Tim McGraw and Timeless, which when I hear both of those songs in my head, actually they sound like perfect next to each other. So even though I really like one and I'm kind of like meh about the other, that makes total sense to me. And then she followed that up with a mashup of This Is Me Trying and Daylight, which is interesting. It's almost like, here's a song about rock bottom, and then here's a song about like rising up and breaking through the surface. Let's put them right next to each other. But I do see sonically how those could sound good next to each other. Now, the second night in Florida was Saturday, October 19th. Here, she debuted the blue and purple surprise song wrap dress. I think this one was really pretty. I like this one a lot too. We also got a new Speak Now dress. It's like this kind of like silky, sparkly teal. I don't love this. I don't like the boxiness of the top half of the dress. It's just not giving the body and ball gown that I'm wanting from the Speak Now dresses. And like if we were gonna add another one, I'm just not entirely sure how much this adds. And then finally, we also got another new Midnight's sequin t-shirt dress. And this is like a blue silver, kind of like almost iridescent color. But on this show, she does a mashup of Should Have Said No and Did Something Bad, which, mwah, beautiful, I love it. And LOL and White Horse, which again, love. This was a really, really good night, actually. And then the last night in Miami was the final rain show of the tour, and she debuted the pink and orange, they call it like the Sunset Boulevard, surprise song wrap dress. This is another one of my favorites. I think it looks really good on her. I think it's really cute. And she did a mashup of Out of the Woods, All You Had to Do Was Stay, followed by a mashup of Mirrorball and Guilty as Sin. Now, Florence did make her way across the Atlantic and joined Taylor to add Florida to the Tortured Poets Department set list after So High School for all of the shows here in Miami, Florida. Honestly, this last night, not only being at like the last rain show, but hearing Florida with Florence Welch in the rain and just like the just would have been so cathartic. Next, she headed to New Orleans for her second to last US city. The first night there, she pulled out the dubbed Rocket Pop surprise song wrap. It's really like blue and white and orange. I'm pretty sure Rocket Pops are red, white, and blue. This is by far my least favorite surprise song wrap, but it is what it is. She doesn't wear it that many times. She does a mashup of Our Song and Call It What You Want, as well as The Black Dog and Haunted. The second night in New Orleans, she pulls up Sabrina Carpenter, and this is the night where they play Espresso together on guitar along with Please 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 and matching it up with Is It Over Now. It's a really cute performance. They kind of like talk and go back and forth in between it. It's really, really cute. Even if you don't like love Sabrina Carpenter, I would check it out. I do like Sabrina Carpenter, and so like I was obviously charmed by it, but like it's fun. Go watch it. And then she went solo on the piano and did a mashup of Hits Different and Welcome to New York. I didn't know she liked Welcome to New York this much. She sings it like a decent amount of times. I think it's one of the songs she sings like at least 4 times. I think it's one of the songs she sings 4 times. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of those, but there's also some great songs that she only sings like twice. So she clearly likes it, like more than I thought she did, which I guess it makes sense. It's a song about her moving to New York, and that's her main place she lives now. So like, yeah, I could see that having a special place in her heart, even though it's not like, I don't know, like it's not like the most well-known or like prolific Taylor song. It's really just kind of an album opener. The final night in New Orleans, this was the night that the Tay Roomba, as it's been dubbed, the like mirrored box that she like floats around on during Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, that we learned when the Eras Tour book came out, that there's actually like a man laying down in that driving it around. It's not like a remote thing. Like there is a remote, but like there's a man with it inside that actually stalled, and Taylor is a consummate professional. She just kept doing her thing. She kept performing as if it was moving, but it actually did like stop, and it ended up being fine for her to go on without it moving. But later on after that, for surprise songs, she did a mashup of Afterglow and Dress, as well as How You Get the Girl and Clean. Not my favorite mashups, but I'm sure they hit for some people. Last US city. Now, Indianapolis. This wasn't the only city. A lot of other cities did similar things. Like I know there was a huge Taylor Swift mural painted in London. There was a huge friendship bracelet installation around the stadium in Indianapolis. The entire side of this giant like glass hotel, the JW Marriott, was covered in a giant Eras Tour mural. Really, really cool, really, really pretty. So she arrived to do her last 3 shows of the Eras Tour in the US. On the first night, Friday, November 1st, she did a mashup of The Albatross and Holy Ground, followed by a mashup of Cold As You and Exile. Saturday, November 2nd, she did The Prophecy, mashed up with This Love, followed by Maroon and Cowboy Like Me. And then for her last US show she did a mashup of Cornelia Street and the Bolter, followed by Death by a Thousand Cuts and The Great War, which is wild because if you're at the Death by a Thousand Cuts place, then like how did you survive the Great War? Maybe she didn't say that in the mashup, I don't know. But getting a Death by a Thousand Cuts to tie up the US leg is pretty magical. Now, it was actually kind of crazy to think about at the time because we were coming up on the holidays, but Tay kept it pushing all the way through the end of the tour, the last show being on December 8th. So she pulled into Canada for the very last leg of the Eras Tour for her 5 shows in Toronto, as it was dubbed. Her first show was on November 14th, and she did a mashup of This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things and My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toys, which like absolutely perfect, followed by a mashup of False God and 'Tis the Damn Season, which I think that's the correct mashup for 'Tis the Damn Season, if you ask me. Her second night in Toronto, she did an odd mashup of I Don't Want to Live Forever and Mine, followed by a mashup of Evermore and Peter, which ow, on that second one. And then the third night she brought Gracie out to sing Us once again, and she mashed that up with Out of the Woods, and then she sat down at the piano by herself to reward us for sitting through yet another performance of Us with You're on Your Own Kid, mashed up with Long Story Short. She took a break Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then came back for her 4th Toronto show on Thursday, November 21st, and did a mashup of Mr. Perfectly Fine and Better Than Revenge, followed by a Labyrinth State of Grace mashup. Her second to last night in Toronto, she did a mashup of Hours and The Last Great American Dynasty, and then a mashup of I Did Something Bad, Cassandra, and Mad Woman, which I absolutely love. This is like in my head, this is like the Mad Woman mashup. And this is the first night that during Midnight Rain, during the line, and he never thinks of me except when I'm on TV, she holds up 5 fingers and she puts one of them down, and there are 4 because there are only 4 shows left after this. Her last night in Toronto, she does the same thing, except for she holds up 4, she puts 1 down, and there are 3. She does a mashup of Sparks Fly and Message in a Bottle, followed by a mashup of How Did It End and You're Losing Me. Ow. Meant to be, but ow. Now, when Taylor arrived in Vancouver for her last 3 shows, there were rumors that there was filming going on for these last 3 shows, supposedly for a documentary of the Eras Tour that we are still waiting for. But for that reason, we did get very routine shows for these last 3. Cam did not say anything special during his We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together line, except for during the last show, he said for the last time no, but the other 2 shows in Vancouver, he kept to the standard like ever. There were no new outfits introduced, and the only kind of like unique special things that happened were her holding up her fingers and counting down 3 and 2 and 1, and then doing a little wave goodbye on the last show during the Except When I'm on TV line during Midnight Rain. As I had mentioned, she had started a couple nights ago when there were only 4 nights left for these last 3 shows, though. She did mashups for all of the surprise songs. The first night she did a mashup of Haunted and Wonderland, followed by Never Grow Up and The Best Day. Saturday, of course, she had to bring Gracie out again, even for like the second to last show. And she sang I Love You, I'm Sorry, and mashed that up with Last Kiss. Did Gracie deserve this? I don't know, but she then sat down at the piano by herself and did a mashup of The Tortured Poets Department and Maroon. And for the last show, she did a mashup of A Place in This World and New Romantics, followed by New Year's Day, Long Live, and The Manuscript. All kind of like tie up end of things songs. And New Romantics, I guess, is just like a send-off to the community and the Eras Tour and like her and her fans' growth journey throughout these last few years, which is great, I guess. But I did find them a little bit random, and a little bit like, I don't know, I guess we were like expecting more than just you know, the show for the very last time, for the 149th time. It kind of drives me crazy that there weren't 150 shows, but like really, truly, who cares? New Year's Day, long live, and I guess the manuscript. She really wanted to put the manuscript in there on the last show. She wanted to say the story wasn't mine anymore, and she really just could have done like just a little bit of it. I really wish she wouldn't have done like as much of it as she did. I really wish she would have stuck closer to New Year's Day and long lived and then just thrown in, but the story isn't mine anymore on at the end. But it was okay. I did watch it live, of course, and I did like A Place in This World and New Romantics. It felt like that did make some semblance of sense. So let me know what you guys thought about the last show if you did watch it live. And then there is like an orange door that comes down in the center of the screen at the back of the stage during Karma. Instead of going down on the platform, she did walk back and walk through the door at the back of the stage, which is like feeding into the rumors that like the next Taylor Swift album is going to be orange themed. But anyhow, that is just like some juice that of course she had to do, and that really we haven't been talking about all that much, to be completely honest. But there's like only so much to talk about. It's just like speculation around the color, but also it could just be the idea of like we're exiting this era now. Like the Eras Tour era is over, and you know, on to the next. You know, if each door is an era, we're closing this one and we're moving forward. Or maybe we are walking into that new era of the orange themed album. I don't know. There's only like so much you can glean from that, so I feel like that's why we're not like going absolutely bananas over that, because she has been out and about at Chiefs games and stuff, and so we have more to discuss. But yeah, if you have thoughts about the orange door, let me know. So that is it. Those were all of the Eras Tour shows, and I know that people have been getting kind of, and if you made it this far in the video, you're probably not someone who feels this way, but kind of sick and tired of the Eras Tour and like wondering when it was gonna end and not understanding why everyone was so incredibly into it and how just her music could be that good. And it's not just her music, don't get me wrong. I love Taylor Swift's music. I have been a fan of it since this was the only era of Taylor Swift that existed. But it's also the sense of love and community that you get when you not only attend the Eras Tour, but you watch a live stream, you participate in social media around and about the Eras Tour, because it just feels like there are all of these other people who you are on the same page with, who you are experiencing this love and this excitement and this joy with. And that feels so good and so magical in a world when I feel like I haven't even had a really solid, you know, in-person friend group for years. And like I have friends, don't get me wrong, but like really truly like a community that is all like enjoying and loving one thing at the same time and being creative about one thing and like going to one place and watching one thing and having thoughts about this one thing that is going on is really just not something that I think a lot of people have experienced a lot recently. You know, I feel like the Eras Tour was my favorite sport. Like I understand kind of like the kinship between people who watch football now, because truly like tuning into the live was important to me. Watching the posts and people talking about it and participating in social media about the things that were going on the Eras Tour was important to me, because I loved being part of that community. I loved looking at people's outfits and seeing the creativity and seeing where people pulled things from and how people made things. It was just such a joy and like combined so many things that I was really passionate about, not only like craftiness and like dressing up and like the girlies being girlies, but also Taylor Swift and community and making of the friendship bracelets, like not only just to wear for yourself, but to trade and for other people, and the community and like the friendliness that was created by like having to go up to people and trade friendship bracelets. Like people don't talk and interact in that way anymore. It's just like way too like scary and anxious, and people are bad at it, me included. But the trading of friendship bracelets made people talk, and like the outfits made people talk, and people made friends with the people next to them, and they took pictures for each other, and like people just had a really great time not only going to this tour but being a part of this tour in each and every way that you could be. And I think that just felt really good and really amazing and was really something that we're all gonna miss. You know, being a part of the Taylor Swift community never ends, but having this regular event and thing to watch and tune into has ended. And I think we're really all going to miss that. And I think that that's a big part of the impact and the legacy that people talk about when they talk about this being the biggest tour of all time and how important and groundbreaking it was. I do think it was. The number of shows, the length of the show, you know, the amount of work and the amount of people in attendance and the amount of manpower it took to just get the production on its feet, but also the immense amount of joy and community and creativity that it brought out in Swifties around the world, and the amount of people that became Swifties and are happy to be Swifties and love being Swifties now because of the community and the fun that was created by this tour. Many of the local economies that the tour came through also reported massive booms as the tour went through, and fans coalesced in those cities, got hotels, spent money at stores and restaurants, etc. She also donated to each local food bank of each city that she went to. She didn't announce this, but many of the local food banks of cities that the Eras Tour came through did report that this is something they experience. Let's not forget that Taylor Swift is a billionaire and that is unethical. No matter how much of her money she gives away, she should still be giving away more of it because it is unethical to have billionaires in our society. However, that is a benefit and a positive impact that this tour did carry around with it everywhere it went. She also gave considerable bonuses to every single person that worked on her tour and helped get it on its feet, and so those people's lives were obviously impacted in a positive way as well, which I think is really, really great. Before we go, I thought we should do a little surprise song roundup. So clearly she played Maroon and You're on Your Own Kid a lot, but were they the most played surprise songs? Yes, they were. The number one surprise song played 11 times was You're on Your Own Kid, followed closely by Maroon, played 10 times, including the times that it was played mashed up with another song, followed with a tie between Clean and Out of the Woods, played both 7 times, followed by Death by a Thousand Cuts, played 6 times. Then you start to get into slightly bigger groups. The songs that were played 5 times were Getaway Car, Red, Is It Over Now, Haunted, Exile, and Holy Ground. And then from there is kind of a larger group of songs that were played 4 times and less, but those were the songs that were played the most. I feel like there was a pretty even split between eras here. Obviously, Debut and Evermore are missing. Now, the songs that were never played, there were actually not a ton that were completely skipped. From the Fearless vault, she didn't play Bye Bye Baby or That's When. I feel like because Fearless TV had already come out well before the Eras Tour was like in swing, she wasn't like as necessarily interested in promoting those songs. Mr. Perfectly Fine was definitely like the star. I don't actually think those were the worst two. I definitely think Bye Bye Baby was actually better than Don't You, but she also didn't play Soon You'll Get Better from Lover for obvious reasons. If you don't know, that is a song about the stint of time between the Reputation and Lover era where her mother Andrea was battling with cancer. That is why the Reputation tour was cut down significantly from the 1989 tour, and she was planning on backing off even more during the Lover era. From Red TV, she also didn't play Forever Winter, Girl at Home, or Ronin. Also didn't play Christmas Tree Farm, which at first I was surprised, but then I looked back at the dates and really truly the only like opportunity that would have made sense timing wise would have been in Vancouver, and like they were filming, and so I don't think she would have wanted to play like a holiday song during those shows to like indicate that it was like Christmas time and like put a Christmas stamp on anything that they were filming. But like if you look at the shows and the dates, none of them were like after Thanksgiving and close enough to Christmas where it would have made sense for her to do that other than those last 3 Vancouver shows. She did not sing Beautiful Eyes or I Heart ? Both of which are on the Beautiful Eyes EP. Same with her duet with Ed Sheeran, The Joker, and The Queen. Very, very slow. Even I get bored listening to it, and I like both of them, and I don't dislike the song. It's just kind of like a drone, to be honest. It's nice to put on in the background, though. She did not sing Beautiful Ghosts from Cats to, I think, like No One's Dismay. I feel like she did Cats to do Cats and then like moved swiftly on from it, as was her right and like probably in her best interest. I think it would have been cute if she had sang Best Days of Your Life. That was sung by Kelly Pickler originally, but was written by Taylor Swift. And I would have loved to hear her sing that because it's a little bit like you've already had the best days of your life and they were with me. And I would love to hear her sing that after one of her breakups. I think that would just be really fun and really petty, but she did not choose to do that, fair enough. Also, could have sang Two is Better Than One, her collab with Boys Like Girls, which I personally, it was at the top of my iTunes playlist when it came out, but I'm not sure it's like super like heavily or fondly remembered by a ton of people, and it was like mostly a Boys Like Girls song, so I get why she didn't pull that one out. But yeah, that's it. Those are the only ones that were just not touched at all. She did at least hit on every single one of her other released songs, which is very impressive. And like, kudos to her for that, for like going back over them and like remembering them all. Like, I know they're her songs, but like, girl, like this is a lot of songs to like remember like all of the notes too, and like how to play and stuff, you know, not just sing and like the lyrics, but like how to play them too, and like mash them up with each other and like not mess up. Like, girl, I mean, she messed up a couple times, but like not many. All right, so this has been, oh shit. This has been the Eras Tour anthology, the Eras Tour encyclopedia, if you will. Thank you guys so much for reviewing the goings on and the details of the Eras Tour from beginning to end with me. If you guys did enjoy this video and you made it all the way to the freaking end, feel free to give it a like. Let me know your favorite Eras Tour memories, your favorite surprise song combos, your dream surprise song combos, what your show was, what you wore, etc. I have some more videos coming out very soon for you guys, so I'd love to see you there. Thank you so very much again for being here. It means the absolute world to me, and I can't wait to see you again soon. Mwah.